I live in a castle. I've run through rainbows and castles of candy, and I've laid down with love, and I've woke up with lies, and you know, I've reached into darkness and come out with treasure. And but if I could do it, I'd do it all over again. You know, it's like that's what got me. That sometimes it's a bitch, sometimes it's a breeze was not the reason I did this song. The reason I did it was the verses. And because the verses really said to me, yeah, this has been a very difficult life, but there isn't any way that I could ever explain to anybody what it feels like to be on that stage and walk off that stage with enough flowers to start a florist shop and enough stuffed animals to send to a children's hospital for 15 years, and they'd never run out. And enough notes and presents and gifts and beautiful letters and incredible love from people, you know, and touching everybody as I go across the stage, you know, and talking to them and hugging one of them, or you know, having somebody go like this really softly to my hair, you know. Just the way that they treat me is so respectful. And it's amazing. I mean, it blows me away because I keep thinking, you know, one of these days somebody's just going to grab a hold of my skirt and pull me right off the stage. And nobody ever does that. Nobody ever, ever, ever tries to hurt me. And I think they know, first of all, that I'm a whole lot tougher than they think. And that the platform boots that I wear would not be comfortable in their face. And the tambourine that I'm usually carrying would not be comfortable around their neck. So they have a respect for my ability to fight for myself. But in the long run, they have mostly, they don't want to do that. They want me to look at them, and they want me to remember them. And I want to look at them, and I want to remember them, and they know that. So we have a serious kind of mutual admiration society going on. And that's probably what has made the bad parts, as it says, you know, the parts that weren't a breeze, good. I mean, at least acceptable. Not good, but acceptable.
Your grandfather was your first inspiration.
Yes.
You want to be a country singer?
He desperately wanted to be a country singer. And funny enough, last night my mom sent me a bunch of pictures to have photographs so that we'd have them forever. And there's a picture of my granddad when he was a lot younger, when he was probably like as young as when I was about 4. And he's there, and my dad's younger brother, and I mean, my dad's younger brother looks kind of like Elvis, and my granddad looks a little older, but it's like they're into it. They're all playing guitar, and they're all standing there, and they're all dressed in like cowboy hats and jeans, and they look terribly cool, you know. And it's like my granddad was into it, and he wanted it more than anything in the world, and he gave up pretty much his family for it. And I think that the reason that my parents were scared, even though they knew they couldn't, they knew there was no way they were going to stop me from doing what I wanted to do. I mean, they tried in their own little ways by saying, well, you have to go to college or we won't support you. And I said back to them, well, I'll go to college and I'll sing. And that wasn't an easy thing to do, to go to 5 years of college and practice every single night and do shows Friday and Saturday. But I managed, because otherwise I would have been too broke to do either. So my granddad kind of remains in my mind as one of those people that gave it his best, you know. And when he wasn't making money playing, he played pool. And he supported himself. He's a flash pool player. And he could beat anybody. So he just, you know, that's how he supported himself, was pretty much playing pool. And we only saw him once every couple years, and he'd come home and we'd sing, and he'd want to take me with him, and my parents would get real angry, and he'd get real angry, and he'd leave, and then we wouldn't see him again for a couple of years. And so it was, when he walked out that door, we knew he was mad and he was gone. But he was just as temperamental as I was, you know, and they said, well, we should have named her Jessica because she's just like Jessie. And one of these days she's going to go with him. One of these days she's going to pack up, she's going to say, I'm going with it. And so they, you know, managed to keep that from happening. But at 82 years old, he and I were still singing duets.
Do you play pool just as good as him?
My whole family plays pool except me. And I don't play pool because they're all so good, and I got so tired of listening to them all playing pool that I just didn't want to play pool. So I never learned. But my family, my whole family loves to gamble except me. I'm kind of the, you know, so I'm the wild rock and roll singer, and they're the wild gamblers. So they can't say very much to me about anything that I do.
So was Lindsay came in your life, was he then kind of like you already had this drive? Did he just like totally magnify it then to be a singer?
Well, when Lindsay and I met when he was a junior in high school and I was a senior in high school. And we met at some kind of ridiculous little meeting that somebody had that was a good reason to get out of the house on Wednesday nights, and legally, and to go, you know, to all gather at somebody's house. And so, and Lindsay was sitting singing California Dreaming, and I walked over and I just looked at him and went, what an absolutely gorgeous man. I wonder if he would mind if I would sing this song with him, because I knew the song perfectly. And I just said, well, if he doesn't like it, all he can do is hit me over the head with his guitar. So I sang it with him, and it came out really good. And then I never saw him again until 2 years later, when his drummer called and asked if I wanted to be in a rock and roll band with him. And they'd been in a rock and roll band for 2 years by then. And I hadn't been. I had been playing basically Joni Mitchell kind of folk music that I loved, and writing, and playing, you know, for my friends, and playing for some public kind of things, but not, you know, anything. I was just practicing mostly. And I said, well, I really don't have a clue about what it's like to be in a rock and roll band, but hey, why not? Sure, I'll do it. And so they picked me up. I went to rehearsal, and the next thing I knew, 2 weeks later, I was on stage in front of 75,000 people opening for Jimi Hendrix. And yes, I was nervous, real nervous. And center front stage with the tambourine, all by my little self, me. And this didn't go over very well with the band because I got all the attention and I really didn't do anything except just sing one part, you know, and play this tambourine that I didn't even know how to play at that point. And so I was the one that they would call up and say, can we book the band with a little blondie brown-haired girl